Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. What a pleasure to be here, to be speaking on this very important subject at this very important conference. The great Chinese military strategist once said, Mr. Sun Tzu, that between stimulus and response, we have the freedom to choose. On the 5th of August this year, the Indian government took a drastic decision vis-a-vis Jammu and Kashmir, and thus created a very dangerous situation in South Asia, as well as created a huge humanitarian crisis in occupied Kashmir. And this is something which has not come totally unexpected. If you look at the history, even before partition, when the RSS was founded back in 1925, their worldview was very clear. And even if they were not in power, they had done all those things which clearly demonstrated or betrayed their worldview, which was to make India Akhand Bharat. Whether it was the Samjhauta Express blast in 2007 or demolition of Ayodhya Mosque in 1992 or the Gujarat massacre in 2002 or Muzaffar Nagar riots in 2013. All this showed that India is gradually inching towards more and more extremism in India. Now this decision on the part of India, and then we have seen during the last 5 years as to where India has come from the lynching of Muslims across India, burning of churches in India, we have seen as to how this Hindutva philosophy or worldview is creating or gnawing at India from within, and also creating problems not for India itself but also for the region as a whole. So having said that, I am not surprised that India has taken this decision, because we all know that it was very much RSS's philosophy to trifurcate the Jammu and Kashmir state. And this is not something new. And then we had seen in 2014, this was part of the BJP election manifesto, that they would revoke both Articles 370 and 35A. And then in elections this year, their manifesto repeated the same thing. So as far as Pakistan is concerned, we knew all along that India would proceed and do this. It's just a matter of time. And now India has taken that decision and created a new situation, not only for Kashmiris, but for Pakistan and for this region as a whole. Now I can share with you my personal experiences as well, but I think the time would not allow me to indulge in my anecdotal experiences or what I have come across when I was posted in New Delhi as Pakistan's High Commissioner. But I can tell you that from Shiv Sena to RSS and RSS to Hindu Mahasabha and VHP, all these part of Sangh Parivar, they are not only anti-Pakistan but also anti-Muslim and anti-Kashmir to the core. And I'm saying these things from my own experiences. Perhaps I am the only Pakistan High Commissioner so far who went to Nagpur, which is the headquarters of the RSS. And I went there and addressed a gathering of around 400-500 audience. So I know some things which perhaps I cannot share here, but I have no doubt, in my view, that India has put this region into, or brought this region to the precipice of, I would not say a full-scale war between our two countries, but the situation which has been created by its 5th August decision has many serious ramifications for all of us. And I can also share with you that India is moving methodically, because it has taken this decision after a great, they have thought through, and they have taken this decision after considering many variables, both dependent and independent. They knew as to how Pakistan would react, what are the realities of today's Pakistan, how Pakistan is mired in different situations on its western border, on its eastern border, and how is our economy doing, how is our political instability kind of affecting us. So they have calculated well, and that the timing of the decision itself is quite indicative that he was about to go on an official visit to UAE with Prime Minister Modi, Bahrain, and then the G7 summit was to take place in France, in Paris. So and then that FATF meeting in October this year. So this was well calibrated, well calculated decision, and as far as the timing is concerned, let me appreciate the Indian decision makers for that. Though we may differ and criticize them for their decision and would never agree with the spirit of that decision, but let them appreciate for the fact that the timing from their perspective is commendable. Now, whatever Pakistan has done since the 5th of August, I mean, one can always whine and whinge about our diplomacy. One can come up with multiple grouses as to perhaps our decision makers were caught unawares and they have not been able to mount a real response to the situation which has emerged post 5th August. I myself have been criticizing the government for the lack of robust, vibrant and coherent diplomacy in order to counter the Indian move. But there are primarily two questions which come to my mind. And the first question is whether the situation which has been created on the 5th of August, is that reversible? In my humble view, it would be a pleasant surprise if the Prime Minister Modi would reverse this decision. We can perhaps count on the Supreme Court of India that when it starts hearing the case against this decision from the first week of October, we may get some relief, but again, for your kind information, this legal process may take a year or 2 or 3 or 4, we do not know. And this is what the strategy of New Delhi is, that to bide as much time as possible in order to consolidate the situation which has been created by the 5th August decision. And we have seen how the Indian Supreme Court has dealt with the situation or the case related to Ayodhya Mosque. We still do not have a decision, and that happened back in 1992. So please do not count on the Indian Supreme Court either, that they would in any manner reverse this decision. Politically speaking, I would say that India is gradually, the first step is to delimit the constituencies both in Jammu and Kashmir. And they're planning to hold the first election for the new Union Territory Jammu and Kashmir in 2021. First it was scheduled to be held in 2020, but now it will be held in 2021 according to media reports. And there what they intend to do is to get a new legislature where they will have majority of those people who are pro-India, who are pro-abrogation of 370, or they are pro-new dispensation. And what they will do is to get approval from that legislature to the amendments done to Article 370, Article 367 and Article 368, and get approval from those newly elected legislature, and then provide a kind of fait accompli to the Indian Supreme Court. So this is the plan of action which they have already worked out. On the diplomatic front, I told you, when Pakistan, unfortunately, and we know our limitations. Let's be honest about our limitations, our strengths, our weaknesses. We know as to how far we can go and how far we can take this issue. Unfortunately, it seems that the international community is not standing with us on this problem. If Pakistan is content with informal consultations in New York, in the UN Security Council, behind scenes, closed-door informal consultations. And if we are content with the outcome which emerged from the OIC contact group, then I do not think we have enough reasons to approach the international community to do much for us. We should not be seeking a meeting of the OIC foreign ministers or UN Security Council formal session on Jammu and Kashmir, because we already declared whatever so far we have achieved as historic victories for Pakistan. So the world should be happy that Pakistan is content with whatever we got so far. I'm not being critical of the government of Pakistan, because I know, because I have worked in the system for almost 36 years. I know our limitations, what our diplomats face around the world. Despite being the finest diplomatic corps in the world, I would say, we have not been able to deliver on that front, not because of problems in the Foreign Office, but problems originating from somewhere else. But since we are kind of, the front line of defense, obviously the entire flag, we draw the entire flag. But the question here for me is that whether can we expect something beyond what has already happened? My sincere advice to all of you would be, and to the Pakistani nation as a whole, do not do that, please. Because, and with due respect to Fakhr Imam Sahab, I have huge respect for him. Democracies everywhere in the world, they play to domestic galleries, and Pakistan is no exception. And it is done in India, it is done everywhere. And in most of the time, people do not know as to what is happening in actual terms. Now we would be told that we are going to OIC, we will try to have a meeting of the foreign ministers. We are going to Human Rights Council, the session is starting from the 9th of September. and we'll finish most probably on the 27th or 29th of September. First of all, we have not been able to get a special session on Jammu and Kashmir in Geneva. We may have a 1-hour discussion, some special discussion on Jammu and Kashmir in some session, on some agenda item. We will try to kind of, incorporate our agenda item into something else. And then a draft resolution which has to be tabled before 19th of September, forget about that. We know back then in 1994 as to what happened to our resolution on Jammu and Kashmir. We could not even win OIC consensus on that resolution. And today, when we are talking, there are 9 members of the OIC which are on the Human Rights Council at present, including Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Nepal, and Saudi Arabia, by the way, and Qatar. And in order to have a special session in the Human Rights Council, we need at least 16 votes out of 47 in the council. And I do not know if we have 16 countries supporting us at the Human Rights Council. Our foreign minister will go there, I'm sure, as he is planning to go. He will make a very strong, vociferous statement. And then again, we will project that statement as a huge Pakistan's victory at the Human Rights Council. I am not for a moment discouraging you guys, because I strongly believe in the Jammu and Kashmir cause. So much so that I was kind of forced into a situation where I had to seek premature retirement from the Foreign Office. So I am very emotionally attached to this cause. And I know as a diplomat, as a trained diplomat, as to what our limitations are. Having said that, I still believe that Pakistan will have to step up its diplomatic, moral, political and material support to the struggle. And I underline the word material. Now I would leave to your best imagination as to how you would like to interpret it. And secondly, unless and until we dispense with our verbosity, wherein we try to cover up our incapabilities, till then I doubt very much we would be able to achieve much. Because if the purpose is to hoodwink our own people, deceive our own people, and take them to a delusional world, that I'm afraid we will never be able to get anything out of this exercise. And my own hunch and feeling is that this practice on our part unfortunately continues. As a nation, we have failed to understand the gravity of the situation. We resort to shallow rhetoric. We resort to meaningless polemics, and then expect that we would get something out of that. I have worked very closely with the previous Kashmir Parliamentary Committee, Maulana Fazlur Rahman Sahab, and I know as to what were the limitations then. You would all remember that we had sent delegations of envoys to different destinations to lobby for Kashmir. And majority of them did not know as to what the Kashmir dispute is all about. And we are again doing the same thing and then expecting different results. I do not really comprehend the logic of our diplomacy. Ladies and gentlemen, this time around we have to do things differently if we want to achieve something and some relief to our brothers and sisters in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. If we are willing to give sacrifices, get rid of our elitist culture, and do something practical and concrete, I'm afraid you will have to live with this new normal which has been created by Prime Minister Modi. I know from our perspective it's an abnormality, but how to remove this abnormality is a challenge for all of us. And it will continue to be a challenge because I personally do not find neither enough gravitas, nor enough commitment, nor enough plan of action to deal with this new situation. And unless and until we introspect, and I'm not saying that our efforts would really yield results, but the question is how much you invest in a cause. We perhaps think that what Pakistan is facing today are problems. They are because of our hostile relationship with India. Please forgive me. That is not the case. That is our own internal situation, lack of governance, corruption. You mentioned anything. It's not because of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. It's because of our own internal weaknesses. Yes, India has taken advantage of those weaknesses and has tried to further weaken us. But we provided India all the reasons to exploit that situation to its own advantage. Now we should be getting out of this syndrome now if we at all are serious to help Jammu and Kashmir and to win freedom for them. And here I would end by saying that a wise man once said that if you do not stand for something, you will fall for everything. Thank you very much.